What's up, ladies and gents? Today we're going to put a video together. We're going to take a look at the 5 used vehicles I have that are not General Motors vehicles. So we're talking about like off-brand stuff. But before we do that, you remember what was parked right here, right? The 2024 black Chevy Trax 2RS. Well, it's sold. No, I did not sell the vehicle. It wasn't to my client that gave me the $19,000 offer. I did try to call him twice just for like normal follow-up. He doesn't answer the phone and his voicemail is not set up. So you really can't get in touch with him. And at this point, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because, you know, obviously we're not going to take that offer. What did happen was our Little Falls location, one of their salespeople had somebody on the car, so they sent someone here to pick the car up. It gets put in their inventory because they did in fact sell the car. I don't have the exact amount of days old. I think it was like 20 something the other day when I made the video. So let's just say it sold within the first 30 days of it being here. Okay, first up, we have a 2020 Ford Escape SE. This is an all-wheel drive model. This particular vehicle has 47,602 miles on it, and we have it on our website for $15,000 as a sale price. Now, this is your basic economy crossover type vehicle. It gets good gas mileage. You're looking somewhere in the mid-20s around town, upwards of 31 or so, you know, on the highway. This would be comparable to our Equinox as far as size. You know, looking at it, me personally, as far as styling, I don't know. It doesn't look bad. I don't think it looks good. It kind of looks a little weird to me. It could just be the difference of me used to Chevrolet versus going to Ford, but it's very rounded off, very bubbly. You can see everything's very curved. It doesn't have like an edgy type look like the Equinox now does. Maybe back then in 2020, they would look a little similar. Let's open up the rear hatch here, see what kind of space we have in the back. Looks adequate for anything you'd be carrying. We do have a spare tire with the vehicle. We have floor mats. Seats will fold down. Now in 2020 with our Equinox LTs, you can actually fold them down from here. It does not look like that's possible, so we're gonna have to do it from the seat itself. So open up the door here. I was just sitting comfortably in the front seat for my height. If I jump in the back here, all right, the way the seat's formed, my knees fit. I'm sitting sort of upright. It's an upright position. I have headroom. I don't know if this can recline at all. It can. All right, it can recline. That's nice. That's a nice feature to have. So for my height, 6'5", it is fairly comfortable. Definitely fit 2 of me here. Will not fit a third. I think 3 back here will be pretty tight. If we lift this handle, we can fold the seats flat. Same thing will happen on the driver's side here. And we have an armrest with some cup holders. So not a bad setup. You do have some air vents here that you can either open or close, no control, just air that's pushing from the front through here, and a 12-volt power outlet down at the bottom. This does have a passive entry system, so when you get close with your key, you can just press on the door to lock and unlock. You also have Ford's keypad here, so if you have the key code, you can get in that way. On your remote here, you have unlock, lock, and horn. Does not have remote start in this particular trim. The interior is not bad either. It's cloth. I'm not really too much of a fan of lighter interiors, but the two-tone does look good in the vehicle. The reason I'm not a fan of the two-tone is, you know, just trying to keep it clean would be the main thing. Huh?
It's got 3 accidents on the Carfax.
All right. I haven't looked yet, but apparently it has 3 accidents on the Carfax. We do provide Carfax with a link on our website, so if you were looking at this particular vehicle, you can click on that right from home and make the determination whether it's a vehicle you'd want to look at further or maybe you would rule out because of whatever that Carfax says. We've got a power seat in this model, forward, back, up, down, recline, and lumbar. On your door panel, you got lock, unlock, your windows, your mirrors, you know, all those sort of adjustments, which is pretty straightforward. We got our headlight switch with our automatic headlights. Turn signals, high beams, looks like some sort of lane keep assist. Wipers here on the right hand side, and your push start button, which is right there. We're getting a message here that our liftgate is ajar. This particular one does not have power, so we're gonna close that manually. Your gauge cluster is your typical analog gauges with your driver information center in the middle there. You can see that's our trip 1 with our miles to empty and miles per gallon. You have some buttons on the steering wheel here that you can control and go through, you know, different settings and different views depending on what you want to look at. So very similar to what you would see in a comparable Chevrolet of 2020. You're also getting cruise control here and some volume controls on the steering wheel for your radio. Radio, I'm happy to report, is a touchscreen. I'm a big fan of touchscreen radios where everything you see is a button. It makes things a lot easier to go through. Usually you would see either Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, or we used to have what was called projection. It was a projection icon. It may have it. I just have to dig a little deeper to find out, but we're not actually going to do that right now anyway. Down below, you do have a couple of hard keys for volume and tuning and changing stations. And then below that, you have your climate settings. This vehicle does have heated seats, which is nice. It does not have a heated wheel. It's like a plastic style steering wheel, so it doesn't have heat there. Down below, you have some USB ports, 12 volt. And then we have our shift knob, which in this car is a very easy to operate knob that you just rotate based on where you want it to be. Park, reverse, neutral, or drive. Another thing I don't see is an all-wheel drive control button. Now, our listing shows that this is all-wheel drive, so I'm thinking maybe Ford's is just full-time all-wheel drive, and there's no way to turn it on or off. In the Chevrolet Equinox, you would have a button that you can disable that all-wheel drive and run it in just front wheel, because a lot of times you don't need all-wheel drive, and if you drive it in front wheel by itself, you can get better fuel economy. This one may just be a full-time all-wheel drive. There is a button here that has different drive modes. So as I select this, you can see you have normal, eco, sport, slippery, and deep snow, sand. So a couple different settings to software, how things would handle different road conditions. Over here, you also have your auto start stop button, which everybody loves. So you can turn off that deactivating system that will turn your engine off when you're at red lights and things like that. Storage, pretty straightforward. Typical type storage here with a USB port, typical glove box. We do have the owner's manuals in here, so we have all that. Overall, nice vehicle. It seems to run smooth. It's running quiet. I am going to pop the hood real quick and take a look at the engine, because this is a 1.5 liter, but apparently this is a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine. Yeah, this appears to be a 1.5 liter engine. I'm only seeing three injectors here on the fuel rail. Got a little bit of a shake to it, but a lot of cars these days do. These are little small engines, and you know, this is sort of the way they operate normally, especially if it's like a direct injection and all that sort of stuff. They have, like, you know, tick noises and little vibrations to them because they are, again, smaller engines. Yeah, EcoBoost 1.5 liter 3 inline 3-cylinder. So what do you think? 5 years old, 47,000 miles, $15,000 sale price. Would you buy this for yourself, maybe a family member, maybe a new driver? Like, is this a vehicle you would consider? Now, the complete opposite end of the spectrum, a 2023 Infiniti QX60 Autograph Edition. This is all-wheel drive, has just under 36,000 miles, and we're selling it for $45,777. Now, where the last vehicle was like a more standard, basic type vehicle, you know, A to B transportation, keeping things cheap, this is the opposite end of the spectrum. This is our Infiniti. This is a luxury car. This is a top end of their trim. You can see on your key fob here, you do have unlock lock, you do have remote start, and you have a button for the tailgate or lift gate, so you could open all that. You're gonna notice a lot of chrome trim. You're gonna notice a nice set of black wheels with a silver aluminum face, black roof, which is a stylish type thing that a lot of car manufacturers do now, and a lot of chrome around the windows, chrome on the door handles, chrome on the lower portion here, the rocker panels. Really just a nice looking automobile. It's gonna press and hold here to open our rear lift gate. As you can see, if you look down at the bottom, you do have a trailer hitch on this vehicle, so 2-inch receiver there if you're doing any kind of towing. Now, what I can tell you is this would compare to our Chevrolet Traverse, and it's not a direct competitor, obviously, because Infiniti would compare more to like a Buick or a Cadillac, but for argument's sake, this is about the same class size vehicle as a Traverse, and I can tell you we have a lot more cargo space behind this third row. So this vehicle is definitely going to be shorter than the comparable vehicles with a third row. They kind of put a third row in here. If you need it, it's there. We'll take a look in a second and see what kind of space we have back there. But ultimately, you don't really have any cargo space behind here, and you can see where the window is going to close. Your headrest is literally right on the back window, the back glass of this liftgate. If we look under here, you do have a little bit of storage with some compartments that you can put some things. We have some Infiniti accessories back here that came with the vehicle. Just curious to look underneath and see if we have a spare tire. We do. Compact spare tire underneath the vehicle, and it looks like we have a couple of buttons here to power. All right, this arrow is going up, so I'm thinking this is going to go down. Let's first pull the headrest, then we'll lift this, drop the seat down. Now I wonder, is this a power up? It is. So it has power up. That's pretty cool, because sometimes to reach the straps is a bit of a stretch for some people. Once it gets to this level, then what happens? Oh, lift. There you go. You finish it the rest of the way. Again, very, very tight third row. Looks to be a 2-passenger. There's only 2 seat belts. There is no third seat belt. Let's hop back here and take a quick look. seat has a nice slide feature that you can press a button and slide it forward like that, and then I could hop myself back in here. As you can see, this is not a third row built for someone my height. I'm hitting my head on the ceiling. I'm not even gonna try to push the seat back because my feet are gonna get crushed. Again, this is more something that's designed for, you know, smaller adults or children. There are some power plugs, USB, and some cup holders. So it's not a bad little third row if you need it in an emergency. But again, not something that you're gonna fit full-size adults in like myself. Back to the second row here. This is that button I was talking about. When you press that, it slides the seat forward nice and easy. It's gonna manually move it back. Obviously it has a recline feature because this seat is reclined all the way back. So I can lift it upright or put it to more comfortable height for me to fit with my my headroom here. Underneath the front, you do have a bar. All right, so you can move the second row seat forward, which would give you more room in the third row. So that's definitely a plus. In the center here, you'll notice you have some storage, a couple of cup holders, USB chargers, an actual 120 style outlet here. And when we start it, I'm assuming we're gonna have some climate controls here and possibly heated seats as well. You also have a fantastic view out the panoramic sunroof. And I was just looking at the door panel and noticing that we do have a Performance Series Bose system in this vehicle. So the audio system should be top notch. Hopping in the front seat here, we're gonna push to start. It does have driver memory because the steering wheel just moved on me here. So power tilting telescopic wheel, power seat, power mirrors, power pretty much everything with driver memory. So you have driver 1, driver 2 settings you can program. Let's take a quick look again on this panel back here. You can see you do have heated seats, you have climate setting controls, fan speed, temperature, you know, direction of where you want your air. All controls that the rear passengers can use to be nice and comfortable. Opposite the Ford, which had the 2 vents with no controls. That's just gonna put whatever air the driver has set through the vents. So here, another level of luxury. How's the Carfax on this one, Dave?
Clean.
As you can see here, you have power windows, you have power locks, you have your mirror adjustments, and you have one button here which will tuck these mirrors in. So if you're going into the garage, you're parking on a narrow street, you press that button, you can, again, tuck them in. I will say that the interior is super nice. You know, this autograph edition, it's got nice special patterns and stitching on the seats. You got this nice panel here. You know, it gives it a certain level of luxury, which a lot of people do look for. The screens and everything look pretty nice. This screen in front of me is very dim. I don't know if there's an adjustment on it for how bright it is. I've been looking for it, can't really find anything. It could just be the way it is. Inside here, you have some storage. Oh, and you even have a pair of sunglasses that come with the car by Quay. I'm thinking that maybe the previous owner left these in the vehicle, so I'll have to find out who traded it in and we'll let them know. In front of that, you got a couple cup holders, you got a wireless charging pad in a very nice convenient location, and we have our floor shifter here. Very easy to operate. You got a button on the side you press to put it to reverse. You can just go down to drive. You can go up to neutral. You press P for park. Super easy to use. You do have a D mode, which is probably dynamic or drive mode selectors. Personal, sport, auto, eco. You got a couple different settings there, one for snow. So just similar to the Ford. Pretty much every car these days is controlled by computers, and with those computers, they could adjust throttle sensitivities, brake feel, steering feel, stability sensors, traction control sensors, all that sort of stuff. And at the touch of a button, you could adjust those settings based on the road conditions you're currently driving in. Now, one thing I will say is you have this little control knob here where you can do things like zoom in and zoom out the map. It looks like you can go to your menu. You have a selector knob here that you could change all the settings on the screen and then hit the OK button. So you have a little control here to use everything on the screen, which is sort of right here where your arm is when your arm is on the armrest as you're driving. So if you get used to that function, it's probably pretty good. What I like is it is also a touchscreen. So if you want to use the touchscreen controls, you can do all that sort of stuff as well. Again, big fan of a touchscreen. And this actually gives you a 5-day weather forecast, which is pretty cool. Camera button here is going to bring up your camera. This does have a bird's eye view. It's got back camera. Let's see if it has anything else. That's your side, that's the full view, and then back to the beginning. The other question I wonder is if I use my turn signal, that does not put any kind of a camera on. That seems to be a new feature that we're starting to see in some of our Chevrolet vehicles, where when you use your turn signal, it will pull up the right or left camera on your screen to give you an extra view. This also has the rear camera mirror. This is something we've had with Chevrolet for a long time as well, where you can see an actual image behind you, like for instance, wall tree right there behind us, or you turn it off and it's an actual mirror. This panel in the center here is pretty cool because it looks like an image. You got knobs for driver, passenger, hot and cold. You got your ventilated seat buttons, you got your heated seat buttons, and it's all flush. There's no actual buttons, but they have like a haptic feedback. So when you press it, you might be able to hear that. You get like a vibration through the button. So it's pretty cool. This does have a heated steering wheel, which you could turn on and off from here. You got your hazard button, which is really like the only physical button. Everything else is just a touchscreen button with, again, a haptic feedback. You even have some radio controls on here as well that you can do to adjust, tracks and folders, things like that. Everything seems to be laid out pretty easily. There's numerous redundancies. So whatever way you're more comfortable in controlling your vehicle, you can control your vehicle. So the 2023 Infiniti QX60, under 36,000 miles, selling it for $45,777. It's the right color combinations on the exterior and on the interior. Who's buying it? Before we get into this next vehicle, just know that I might have to cut this video short because it's looking like it's going to start to rain, and I have a customer coming in which we're buying his Suburban. He should be here any minute. But the next vehicle, one that's near and dear to my heart as a past two-door Jeep owner, the 2023 Jeep Wrangler Sport two-door, and we're going to get right to it. The best feature about this vehicle, this is the 6-speed manual transmission, just like the one I had. I'm sure to those who know how to drive a stick shift, you can agree with me. It is just the best. I've had 2 Corvettes that were stick shifts. I've had my Jeep that was a stick shift. And unfortunately now these days, there's fewer and fewer vehicles around that have a manual transmission. All right, the wind's really picking up here, so we're gonna hop right inside the Jeep. But what you'll notice off the bat is this is a hardtop. It's a 2-door. And I gotta tell you, at the standard height of a Sport, it seems small. Like, I'm taller than this truck. I think when I had mine, obviously I had a 2-inch lift. Actually, I had a 2.5-inch lift. I had 33-inch tires. It definitely gets the truck up in the air a little bit more, which is nice. This one has 10,703 miles on it. It does have push button start, and there we go. You'll notice that they have some rough country seat covers on the front seats. So the cloth seats underneath are probably perfect because the owner most likely had these on the whole time they owned it. They have a little cell phone holder that they put on here for themselves. This does have a touchscreen radio. It's gonna have a backup camera, which was something newer to Jeeps the last couple of years. I know my Jeep didn't have that, although mine was a 2012. So we're going back quite a bit of time now. This also has more equipment in that it has power mirrors, which my truck did not have. It has power windows, which my truck didn't have. I had the old crank style windows, but that was what I wanted. I wanted a very primitive, basic Jeep. I really did love it while I owned it. This does have media ports here for USB, auxiliary, all that sort of stuff. Basic climate controls, your manual 4-wheel drive knob here. Spare tires mounted on the back. That's where you can see that camera is, right in the middle of that spare tire. They have a little accessory cover on here. Once we open up the back tailgate and then lift up the top, we will replace this wiper blade that's obviously in need of repair. You have the bag for the 2 tops. The tops do come off. Now, when I say tops, I mean the 2 top panels here, the Freedom Top, I think is what they call it. Those come off. You obviously can take the entire top off, but the quick thing would be to take these off. It's like having a sunroof, partial convertible, whatever you want to call it, open air over your head. And then of course you can take the whole rear section off if you wanted to as well. You have an accessory soft top you could always buy for this truck. And here we have our 2nd row seat, also with a seat cover on it. So again, seat's probably in perfect condition. These do fold down, which I forget how this works. There we go, the headrest went down. Folds down, tumbles up, and can stay upright. This way you'd have more trunk space if there's nobody sitting in the 2nd row. Personally, when I had my Jeep, I never even kept the 2nd row seat in it. I kept it in the garage. I only used it a handful of times. For the most part, there was only ever 2 people in the truck. Small storage underneath. Your little bolt holes, which is nice. These are holders for, like, if you take the doors off and all that sort of stuff. You have bolts on here that you take out, and then when you take these bolts out, you go in the back and you drop them in here, and it keeps them protected, and it keeps them in a safe spot so you don't lose them. Really great idea. It definitely feels like it's gonna rain any minute. Back inside, you know, typical glove box, storage in your center console, upper and lower levels, another USB port. Overall fun vehicle to own and to drive. I'm just getting a text from our receptionist that my customer is here. So with that, we're gonna end the Jeep video here. Help our customer in buying his Suburban from him. And then if I have time and it's not raining, we will look at the last two vehicles we have that are non-GM. One of them is an Acura, and the other one is a really nice Mercedes, which actually may have just sold because somebody was here looking at it. We're gonna park the Jeep right in here and go inside. And I'm not selling this gentleman a car, we're just buying his Suburban. He's got a couple payments left on the lease. He doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't need a replacement right now. We could definitely use the truck. So we worked out a number. He's happy. We're gonna do the paperwork and I'll have a Suburban on the lot that I can talk about.